to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast, where you go behind the scenes with host Brett Fellows, CFP, as he explores the unique opportunities and challenges facing certified registered nurse anesthetist along the path to financial independence. In each episode, Brett shares expert insights and actionable advice, equipping you with the tools you need to take control of your financial destiny and retire on your terms. And now, here's your host, Brett Fellows.
Welcome to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast. I'm your host, Brett Fellows. Today, I'm re-releasing one of the most inspiring conversations we've had on the show. And that's my interview with Alicia Quinte, CRNA, educator, and founder of the 1099 Success Academy. We first aired this episode in 2024, but we're bringing it back because interest in 1099 work among CRNAs has grown tremendously. And Alicia continues to be a leading voice in helping CRNAs take control of their careers. From living aboard a sailboat and crafting a CRNA career on her own terms, to a life-threatening health scare that ultimately fueled her mission to empower others, Alicia's story is indeed remarkable. In this episode, she doesn't just walk us through how to make that shift, she gets into the why it matters, why it's worth considering, and why it might just be the key to building a career and a life that truly aligns with your values. Whether you're just starting to explore 1099 work or looking to fine-tune your independent business, this conversation is full of wisdom, encouragement, and practical tools. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this encore episode of Money RX for CRNAs with Alicia Quinte. Welcome, Alicia Quinte, to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk with you today, just in terms of in how many different industries, even within the last 5 years, 10 years, definitely, how the typical W-2 earner, brick and mortar type of industry has really changed, and how we can become more and more independent in my world, and your world as well as a CRNA. So you're out there, you're owner and educator of 1099 Success Academy. And I just think it's really cool how you are teaching people to schedule and manage their earnings and savings from transitioning from a W-2 to 1099. So I think it'd be a really helpful discussion for our listeners.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime that you can help free someone from a W-2 work environment that they could actually do as what I call a 1099er, as an independent contractor or as a freelancer, anytime you can give an individual the tools to get that done, suddenly they're able to, schedule to work when they want to work, where they want to work, what type of work they want to do. They can actually design their entire lifestyle to fit what their passions are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've loved doing it. I have loved creating the 1099 Success Academy as a way to communicate that access to freedom that so many people have, and they don't even realize they've got that access.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I guess, Alicia, we'll start there. I do want to go back and talk about how you got to where you are, but 1099 Success Academy, in your own words, what do you say to people what you do in 1099 Success Academy?
Right. Well, basically I provide a smooth path from W-2 to 1099 for anyone that is entrenched in their W-2 job that maybe is feeling burnout or unhappy or kind of comfortable but miserable all at the same time. and they just know that there's something they need to do to change, and they don't know how to go about making that change and still producing income along the way. So there's so many pitfalls, and it's not a clear path, and it's not something that you can see the end point when you start at the beginning of this process. So a lot of what I've done to design the 1099 Success Academy to help people the most is to help them visualize what they want their life to be like, and then guide them through the steps in a simplified way, and also in a very inexpensive way compared to if they just didn't take my class. So that their end point is they are working when they want, at workplaces that they choose, for the rates that they choose to be paid.
That's so great.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. So how did you come about this? I saw the date in 2020. I don't know if that's right. I think that's right. So I'm thinking I may hear a COVID story that comes out of this just by the 2020. But I know we were talking offline, you went to Medical University of South Carolina here in Charleston, South Carolina, where I am. So you
That's right.
became an RN there, and then tell us about your journey as a CRNA that led up to 2020 and launching 1099 Success Academy.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, I sure was. I went to school at MUSC, Medical University of South Carolina, and I absolutely adored the place and the people. I live in Savannah, Georgia, so it's very similar. We're sister cities.
Yes, very much.
And as soon as I graduated, I took a W-2 position in Florida, totally looking for a great location, and did enjoy Florida. But then suddenly I was really enjoying Florida while I was getting ready for work, which meant in the CRNA world, you have to become credentialed at the facility you choose to work. That takes a few months. And then by the time I was actually credentialed, I had some kayaking in the Mayaka River under my belt. I had been diving in the springs. I was on the west coast of Florida, and I was loving it so much. And then I started working, and I was like, oh my God, in the W-2 working world, you don't decide what days you're available and let them know. You're just working when the hospital tells you to work,
Exactly. Sure.
And it became very cumbersome in my lifestyle. At one point, we decided to move to the other coast because I don't think I've mentioned this, but I lived aboard a 50-foot sailboat at the time.
Wow.
After I've lived aboard a total of 22 years in my life, and at that point, I was in the thick of it. And so we had sailed around from Tampa to Palm Beach Gardens. And I just, with the working environments that were W-2, I recalled that the whole reason I decided to go into anesthesia is because being 1099 was a very prevalent lifestyle. And as a nurse, I was W-2 for just a few months. And my family, they're all business people, they're accountants, they're S corporations. And as a RN years ago, they all said, no, we're going to help you become an S corporation, and you can provide nursing services as a 1099.
That was a little bit ahead of its time, it sounds.
It was, but in fact, it was so easy. It was smooth. I had no trouble with it because I had my family to guide me. They helped me set up my LLC. I had to have nursing malpractice insurance that I purchased because of so many different work locations. There was so much to do, to take care of. But I have business in my blood, so my blood was helping me move into that,
Right.
But not everybody has that. And, so my epiphany led me to immediately switch into 1099 in the CRNA working world. As soon as I realized what was wrong, I couldn't remember for a while that the reason I chose this life, as a nurse anesthetist, was so I could work when and where I wanted to, living aboard a sailboat, cruise, and go to whatever location. That was the goal.
And was this before 2020? What year was this when you made that mental decision?
So I actually, I graduated MUSC in 2000.
Okay.
And it wasn't long after that, I was in Florida and had my epiphany as a CRNA that's right.
Yeah.
So then I've worked all over South Florida, had a wonderful time with it, and was always able to negotiate great rates and, just loved my lifestyle so much. And as you can imagine. But then in 2020, fast forward, I had moved back to Savannah. My boat is on the dock, in 2020. COVID had not quite hit.
Okay.
And I was starting to feel like I really need other people who I taught how to move into 1099 were telling me, you need to teach this. You need to reach the general population. So it wasn't long after that I was on Zoom, as we are right now, with some educators who are really frustrated with my kids that they just weren't doing the work at home like they were at school. So I know so many parents can relate to that. So not long after that, there always seems to be a pivotal event in our lives that causes us to make a big change in our life. And my pivotal event was not really COVID, but during that time, it was discovered that I had sarcoma.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden, my life, which was stretching out for a long time, looked like it might be kind of short. So I started thinking about the missions that I've had in my life. And one of the missions I've had is to help elevate other CRNAs into the 1099 lifestyle all around me. And so I started to get excited about doing that. And after I had this major surgery in New York during COVID, when you could walk around the streets of New York and there was not a car in sight.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I almost died during that procedure. I mean, literally, they almost didn't get me back because they lost a vessel. And, you don't want to lose too much blood. I lost half of my blood. And when I woke up and they told me all of this, I was amazed.
Yeah.
Because I had never, in all my years of being a CRNA, taken care of anyone who'd lost that much blood. And I was inspired in my little anemic way. I was like, well, God has given me the opportunity to do this work that I want to do. And I'm going to do it because now every day is a gift.
Yeah. Good for you. Wow.
I'm so excited. I have been so excited to
amazing.
Educate others. My heart is so there.
Yeah.
So that's what
a
I did.
story. I didn't realize that. Wow. What an inspiring story. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's always some pivotal event, right?
Yeah.
Something pushes us over the edge.
Yeah. So what did that literally look like, Alicia? So are you, I guess, kind of even in towards today, are you still doing CRNA work and the 1099 Success Academy? How do you balance the two?
Oh, you know what? My husband would probably have some good input on this one. Well, literally, I worked day and night for a year straight creating my course.
Wow.
And then I practiced it. And when I say I worked day and night, I didn't just, work on it in the quiet. I taught it. I made an outline and I just started teaching. And I went into social media. I created a group called the 1099 CRNA Success Community just to see if anybody wanted to take my class. And that community is 9,600 people strong right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and there are 61,000 CRNAs in the nation. So I'm honored,
Yeah.
And that's where I let people really know about my course. And so that's where they come into my course from a lot of the time. But since then, I've grown. My sister, who is my partner, who took care of me when I was sick and needed help, especially in New York, she is my partner with this. Her name's Paris Cook.
Okay.
And she has done just amazing stuff. She does all of our customer relations and she does the IT. She helps with the marketing and all of this stuff that
Yeah.
as a CRNA, I, of
Yeah.
course, am not very aware of.
Yeah.
So what that did, that partnership, that
Yeah.
allowed us to, like I said, create a website, which is the 1099 Success
Got it.
Academy.com.
And we'll have links for that in the show notes below. Awesome.
Great. And I realized that we needed a QuickBooks course because a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
people were lost in QuickBooks. So this one is specifically designed for CRNAs to help them really, it's taught by another CRNA, and her name's Dr. Megan Connor, and she is just a huge QuickBooks aficionado because I kept seeing her answers to questions, and I interviewed her, and she said, sure, she would teach the course. So that is another course that we've
Okay.
got. And then, after I created those courses and people were on board for a couple of years because I have annual renewals, in my course, I teach a lot about taxes. And so there's a lot of updates,
Yeah.
not every year, but
Yeah.
frequently that affect 1099 freelancers.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's state to state changes.
Yeah.
So from a tax standpoint, they really need this information
Yeah.
updated. So I created a group just for the people who take my course, and they get all the reminders. So they're never caught, quote, with their pants down when it's tax time. They're never caught at the end of the year with owing a whole lot of money in estimated taxes because they've learned how to do that through the class. And then they learn how to get on a schedule. I teach budgeting,
Wow.
and then I teach bringing it all to life, bringing your savings for, solo 401ks, HSA, estimated tax savings, all of these really integral pieces that you should do from the get when you're a high earner.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were telling me offline. So basically, in summation, the 1099 Success Academy literally is it's worded well. It's an academy where if one is thinking about going from W-2 to 1099 as a CRNA, it's essentially a one-stop shop. You can walk them through, and you have faculty who will help them through literally the legal end of it, or the accounting end of it, or from the medical side of it, or from the billing side of things.
Absolutely.
And there's also educational pieces to understand that goes along with each and every one of those decisions. So that's great. Have you found there's like a demographic of the people who take your course? Is it younger CRNAs? Is it people who've been working 10 years? I'm just curious.
Interestingly, okay, and I would have thought that mainly this would have been for the CRNA who's been working for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. But you wouldn't believe the number of people who are nearing retirement that take this course so they can continue to extend their career for decades, really, but on their own terms. And on the other end, which surprised me, the people that have not yet graduated anesthesia school are wanting to take my course as well. And so what they do is they enroll, because it's half price if you're still in anesthesia school.
Gotcha.
And because I understand, you remember how it is being a student, there's not any extra money. And they can remain a member for 2 years if they're enrolling while they're in school.
Yeah.
So that they can get the mindset, because a lot of it is mindset, setting ourselves free, reducing. We have these self-limiting beliefs. Oh, I can't do this because of that. Or there's always something holding people back that is really hurting them, And so when they can visualize those things, and I have a lot of different mechanisms that I utilize to help people see past themselves,
Yes.
so that they can really achieve that life they've wanted to, because life is short. My little run-in with death opened my eyes to the fact that we are given so many days, so many hours, in our life, and we
Yeah.
really need to be happy. And
Yeah.
despite what seems to be limiting factors, we can overcome those barriers
Yes.
if we have a mentor.
Yes.
And a lot of times, if you don't have a mentor, you get caught in this spin of life and you can't reset.
Yes.
But if you have a mentor, somehow that can slow the clock down. It's like exercising.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things get slow enough that suddenly now you have space to think
Yeah.
and how to do it.
Yeah.
You've given rules on how to do it that will definitely allow you to succeed. And then with having the Freedom Masterclass Facebook group, that allows the people in the class to congregate and provide support to each other as
Sure.
well.
Sure. And I should go, that Freedom Masterclass, which is your flagship class, that is AANA accredited. So I know you're teaching that for the Georgia State Association. And so you can
Right.
get continuing education credits if taking that course, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's another nice thing is that
Yeah,
they can.
definitely.
Yeah, it's nice continuing education credits when you are required to have so many. It's nice that a few of them can go towards like self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, basically, the educators in my class teach like health insurance, life insurance,
Yep.
disability, and malpractice, as well as contracts. We have lawyers that come in there and teach, and then several CPAs and financial advisors like yourself. And we're always open to new faculty. So when we're done, we'll have to get together and talk. But yeah, the more viewpoints on these very integral subjects
Sure.
that these people can watch, suddenly there are no barriers because they realize with knowledge, wow, they can do this. And what's really cool is it leads them to the next step where they're opening their own business. They're following their heart.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I've already got an LLC. I know how to open one. I'm going to open another one for whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, knitting, Jeep
Yeah.
restoration.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to go further in anesthesia. You know, as CRNAs, we're independent practitioners. So this means that we can go out in the working world and provide services to dental offices, you know, plastic surgery centers. Some states we can work with like podiatrists. We can provide services to just like fertility clinics. I mean, urology clinics. I mean, ENT. You kind of go from head to toe.
Sure.
Ophthalmology. And if you think about all of these outpatient centers that surgeons have built so that they don't have to go work in the hospital,
Yeah.
because surgeons want to work at their home-based clinic as well. So they can open a room and a CRNA can come in there, set up the suction, the oxygen and everything, and create the exact same environment that we use in any OR
Yes.
and provide our services.
Yes.
It gets the CRNA out of the building, the hospital that is, and
Yes.
it gets the surgeon out of the building.
Right. Right. And what about, so let's kind of go look at two different pillars on it. You know, having, I think I mentioned two daughters going through nursing school, or one's been through, and they don't really talk about 1099. And or if someone's been in at 1099 or they get a job, everybody wants a job right away. And let's say you've been in that job for 10 years. And as CRNA, you know, it's a good paying job too. So talk about, you know, the fear of, you know, this is a financial planning podcast. So talk about that fear of money in terms of losing this W-2. I know I'm going to get paid. I don't have to worry about it. It's pretty good pay, as opposed to going off on my own. I imagine that's going to be
That is a great question. I am so glad you asked that, because really, as a 1099 anybody, you're padded on either end. You can negotiate for a better income, and you can optimize your taxation. So when you're a high earner, as CRNAs are, due to obviously all the education, all the clinical hours behind them, and then the, you know, it's one of those jobs where you're not flippant when you go to work.
Yeah.
You know, every minute of work is vigilant. You're applying yourself to provide safe anesthesia for that patient. And so it's a huge responsibility and not one taken lightly. So it is while it is a well-paid profession, when you go out 1099, you're adding yet another level of flexibility that CRNAs who have been in the same workplace for decades, something they don't have to do is they don't have to adapt. But adapting is something that we're taught in school. We go from one workplace to the other. We spend like 6 weeks here, 6 weeks there. Doctors' offices, hospitals, surgery centers, and all of this. And so going into W-2 seems like the easy thing to do. But in fact, when you compare the benefits with the benefits package you can create yourself that I teach people how to put together in the 1099 Freedom Masterclass. When you have guidance on growing that, you can see that your benefits are actually less expensive than the benefits that you're getting as a W-2, because some of those benefits you're getting tax deductions for.
Yes.
You know, some of those benefits, such as an HSA, your solo 401k, and your health insurance, those end up becoming adjustments to income, which reduce your taxable income. And in the end, due to the fact that your taxation is no longer 34% or somewhere in that region, your taxation will automatically, just due to the tax laws that we have in place today, you can reduce your taxable income so that your taxation on your gross revenue is closer to 20%. And some people even a little lower, just depending. Are they married? Are they single? Do they have children? You know, do they have dependents? That kind of thing. Everybody's situation is a little different, but everyone who is 1099 has the same result in CRNA land. And that is somewhere around $100,000 of savings, or $100,000, excuse me, of additional revenue that they can grow a year. And probably around $15,000 to $20,000 in tax savings. And so if you put those two numbers together, you can see that it is a more fruitful lifestyle. So that you're working less, you're getting paid more, and there's just no downside to it. And that is why I have to say, I mean, this is a shameless plug, but I created the businessafanesthesia.com, which is business of anesthesia masterclass for office-based practice specifically, and also ASC. So it can be done. I mean, it's like going from W-2 to 1099 is like the 101 part of the life. But then when you really want to do your own billing and now you want your revenue to really pick up, then you take the business of anesthesia course. And there's the faculty on that are numerous other CRNAs that have had great success. So,
and the CRNA community, I saw this statistic, I think it was a 2022 statistic, but even within the 61,000 CRNAs, the fastest growing segment is the 1099 space. Are you finding that as well?
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny. I don't know if I helped push that ball a little bit. But I'll tell you that just like any particular group of career workers, right? Whether it's anybody who works in a group, like CRNAs kind of have this group of people, you know, physicians have a group of people, Uber drivers have a group of people. You know, they're all doing the same thing, you know, as 1099. And, or W-2. And the fact is, the people who have moved into 1099 aren't around to teach and share their secrets with the W-2 people. So it really puts the W-2 person at a disadvantage to not know how to do that. So, you know, when I started the 1099 success community, there was very few, there were no other groups like that. There was a group called Locums, which is temporary help
Yeah.
which is also typically 1099.
Yes.
Well, since then, now there's all these little groups sprouting up, other CRNAs that are 1099 that want to have they just want to have another group of people for their angle.
Hmm.
So there are more groups, which is fine. But I remain to be the only master class out there to assist W-2 CRNAs into the 1099 world.
Okay. That's great.
And I'm pretty sure the reason for that is because I'm so excited about doing it.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's so
Yeah,
great.
I provide mentorship, like I'm available. That's why the balance. Oh, you asked about how did I balance my life between working as a CRNA and this. It's not real easy because I keep I have a Calendly account. So when people sign up for mentorship, because I mentor anyone who takes my course, who enrolls in the course, and I provide them unlimited mentorship. And then the lady who teaches the QuickBooks, Dr. Connor, she provides 3 sessions of mentorship, which basically helps them with payroll, reports, and even just categorization or invoicing, you know, the basic things you've got to be able to do, you know.
That's great.
But I work for 2 dentists and a pain clinic, and then I fill in at a GI center and a plastic surgery center. So it is kind of a juggle.
Yeah. And the academy, can you join at any time? Does it have certain start dates? How does one get through the curriculum? Is it like self-paced?
You absolutely can. So that's a great question as well. So I started this as only live courses.
Yep.
And eventually I get to where I do a live class at the beginning of every year. And then in April, that's done. And then I re-record the QuickBooks. Then that's done. So everything is up to date every year with the live course.
Okay.
But the people who sign up get a year membership ongoing. And they can watch the evergreen portion, the pre-recorded version.
Okay.
So, everything that I've taught goes into the pre-recorded version, and then that goes into an app. Everybody likes to use their phone, so that it can go on an app that can be cast up to their smart TV or however they want to do it, or they can sit at a computer and take it in their convenient time.
Yes.
But so I've tried to make it real user friendly.
Okay, great. I want to be sure to get to your financial question. I know you had a really good one. I haven't really been asked this in a long time, so it's kind of interesting how you asked it. I'm curious to know. So your question was, what exactly is a mega backdoor Roth? Now, a lot of people don't know this terminology, mega backdoor Roth. How do high wage earners such as CRNAs incorporate this into their financial plan? What are the steps in the process to actually make it happen? So just curious, how did you come across mega backdoor Roth, something you have been curious about or been reading?
Okay, so I teach everything up to on the financial portion of my class up to mega backdoor Roth.
Yep. Up to, okay.
Up to that, and I draw
Gotcha.
the line.
Gotcha.
At that point, this is where I've hired, all of these other speakers to come in because it's their specialty.
Yeah.
So, but it is the one thing I've only had one speaker cover, and yet I have the most questions regarding that in my course.
So since it's technical, I'll do the best I can. And you tell me, Alicia, how good this explanation is if we need clarification. But
you're awesome.
So there's what's known as a backdoor Roth. And what that basically means, this is for, like Alicia's saying, high wage earners, which CRNAs more often than not fall into. For 2024, it's if your income's 160,000 single and 240,000 married filing jointly, because those limits, Roth means tax-free monies for retirement, is not in your wheelhouse. You make too much. You cannot do it. So long story short, there's what's known as a backdoor Roth. IRS does not like that word backdoor. But there's a loophole in the tax system. So if you have a 401k or a 403b, so anybody can do this. You can be W-2 or not. There's 2 steps. And one is you make after-tax contribution to your 401k. And then once you've done that, you then do a conversion of that after-tax contribution to a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k or Roth 403b. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. So those are the two steps. You make an after-tax contribution and then you convert it. Well, what's an after-tax contribution? Why an after-tax? Why do those words mean so much? In most 401ks, the defaults are we have pre-tax, which is the traditional. We put monies in, we get a deduction, we pay taxes later. We have Roth, which we know we put after-tax monies in, and they go into the Roth, it's tax-free. And with the IRS, there are limits you can contribute. And for 2024, it's $23,000 into a traditional or Roth, doesn't matter. But that's not all that you can put into a 401k. Everybody kind of knows those limits, but they think that's it. And you can actually put into 69,000 is the aggregate amount you can put into a 401k in 2024. So 23 versus and 69,000. And if you're, I'm going to assume we're under age 50 here. If you're over age 50, you can save even more. So we'll just leave it at that. But let's say you do 23,000 and you get a 3% match or a 50% match. That's 11,500. That's 34,500 that can go into your 401k. That's still less than 69,000. You have another 34,500 that you can still put into a 401k. So that's where that third bucket comes in, the after tax. So you can put in another 34,000, let's say in that example, into the after tax bucket. And then that is what you can convert to a Roth. So all of a sudden we've gone from 23,000 at the most to putting in, up to 69,000 into a Roth. And we didn't know that we could even do that. And so it's a way to increase our tax-free savings for retirement. If you have after-tax contribution in your 401k, you then, what would you do? You convert it to the Roth portion of your 401k or to your Roth IRA. So this is the downside. This is what you have to know if this interests anybody. These are the two things you have to find out first. One is, can I even make an after-tax contribution? Because not all plans allow for it. So that you have to figure out first. And two, if you can, do you have a Roth feature that you can, because remember, you have to convert it. Do you have a Roth feature in your 401k? And or if not, are you allowed to take in-service distributions to roll it over to your Roth IRA? If you don't have either of those two, you can't do the mega backdoor Roth. So that's very technical. I went very fast, but it's if you have even more monies you want to put away for retirement, you want to put them in a tax-free bucket. You're not sure how to do it. That's the answer. There are some nuance though too about any earnings that are on it, and you don't want to mess with your employer match type of thing. So there's some math that goes into it. Most CPA, I'm married to a CPA, so I'm allowed to say this. Most CPAs don't like them because they offer zero tax advantage today, and as an extra tax form you probably have to file. But from a tax planning standpoint, looking forward as opposed to backwards, it's a huge, huge impact. So that is the brief mega.
I love that. No, that was fantastic. So can I just speak to that angle a little bit?
Sure.
Little bit. Okay.
Sure.
So you know how when you're self-employed,
Yes.
you're not having to deal with your W-2 fractional match.
Right.
Like, those W-2 people, it sounds like such a good deal, sounds like so much money. And then the match is really, I was shocked to find out it's really doesn't seem like that much money.
The average employer sponsored match in the country is 3%.
Right. 3%. Well, as somebody who is self-employed, based on the salary you pay yourself, you can essentially put away 25% of that as an employer match to yourself. When you're self-employed, you're Gemini. You're the employer and the employee. Mm-hmm. The employee can put aside, as you know, $23,000.
Yes.
Pre-tax, no problema. But then you go with the employer match that comes out of your business checking account.
Yes.
As somebody self-employed. And that's where they can reach up to these high numbers like you're talking about.
Yes.
And it is due to this mega backdoor Roth maneuver that CRNAs are able to go ahead and reach those high numbers.
Yes.
Based on, a lot of it has to do with the amount of salary they pay themselves, and or if they're an S corporation versus an LLC. Well, these are some of the things that I tease out for people.
Yeah.
Like, I spend 10 units in the Freedom Masterclass building with, what does it mean? First of all, what is an LLC? What is an what are tax elections?
Yeah.
You know, what are the two kinds we have to pick from? And then what do they mean? How do they influence the amount of money you can put aside in retirement?
Yes.
How do they affect the amount of taxes you can deduct? Do they affect self-employment tax? You know, which one of those tax types, you know, LLC, garden variety, or LLC with an X corporation, tax election, you know, what kind of influence does that have?
Yeah.
And will that have on this individual's life?
Yeah.
And as you know, each person's tax setup is so individual. Do they have real estate? Do they have children? Do they have, you know, are they reentering back in school? There's just so many things to take into account.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say too is if you're typical W-2 putting it away pre-tax, because of required minimum distributions, the largest bill you will ever pay is tax. So as your account continues to grow, your required minimum distributions will continue to grow. So your tax bill will continue to grow. So for any other reason than to have tax-free monies at retirement, that's the importance of having Roth. So yeah,
Right.
It all comes into
And you know,
play.
your point is good about the required minimum distributions and the effect that a mega backdoor Roth would have on that. That is something I had not really thought of until you
for those
mentioned it.
with a Roth, there are no required minimum distributions, so they can go tax-free forever. And so it's a great estate planning tool. It's a great tax tool. So there's lots of reasons. So if you haven't looked into it, definitely either check out your masterclass, or we did I think our episode 2 on this podcast is about traditional versus Roth, even the basics. So
Wonderful.
feel free to listen. Alicia, I'll leave you with this. This podcast is about successful people in the CRNA industry. And, what I have learned from doing this for many years is that success, especially when it comes to money, means different things to different people. So I'm just curious about everything that you've created and how you see the future of the CRNA industry and what it is you're doing. What would your definition of success mean to you?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, from a personal standpoint, my definition of success has a lot to do with family. I have 2 children and a husband and a large extended family, and we're boaters. So, anything that can lead me personally back into the cruising lifestyle that I enjoyed back in my 20s, that would be great. But from a career and a professional standpoint, I just want to say that I believe that CRNAs that have found freedom in their work life tend to become really more proud of the work that they do. And they tend to get a lot more happy, everyday happiness type feelings going into work when they are making the money themselves, when they are in charge of when they're going to work, where they're going to work. And I think this is a very sustainable lifestyle for CRNAs. There are so many facilities. There's millions of procedures done in the U.S. every year. And there are not as many anesthesia providers as they need to be. So I honestly think that when registered nurses who are working in critical care areas that have done their time in there and they are ready to make that step as an advanced nurse practitioner into CRNA land, giving anesthesia, they're more motivated to do it when they know that this option of 1099 life is there for them. that just provides a freedom that you can't get on a show up day in and day out 5 days a week to the exact same workplace.
Yeah. Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. And Alicia, for those who are interested in checking out Alicia, we'll have, as I mentioned, links to her website and her Facebook group and all of her pages on the show notes. But Alicia, thank you for joining this episode of Money RX for CRNAs.
Thank you so much, Brett. I really appreciate it. This has been just a joy.
Well, great. Hope maybe we can have you back sometime.
Absolutely. Well, you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you all.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.